Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Highlighting the Journey with Dan, the podcast, man. Today, I probably have one of my longest term friends of all time. One of my best friends, grew up with him in middle school to this day. And today here, very special guest, I got Thomas McDermott, AAK, the Officer Homebuyer.
What's up, guys? Tom McDermott, Officer Homebuyer. I am owner of Navi Real Estate Investors and active law enforcement real estate investor on Long Island.
For those that don't know, Navi Real Estate Investors was me and Tom's first company. When we started investing in real estate, that's our logo. We still do have our Instagram, but it's been quiet. And me and Tom are going to talk about why it was quiet. It's been quiet. But today, I'm so happy to have you here, man. First and foremost, I love you.
I love you too, bro.
In life, and I think we know this now, especially at the age we're at, 34, you're 35, you're just a little bit older than me, that you only get so many friends from, middle school that stay in your life.
Yeah.
And you and me have really been through it all. We have been through growing up to each other. By the way, we hated each other in the beginning.
We'll tell that story.
We'll tell that story. We hated each other in the beginning, but I think me and Tom ultimately watched each other grow up. And I think from in middle school, going through everything, emotions, girlfriends, everything in life. And then we got to college and then we kind of like split off. And then we didn't really have the same connection because you were in Albany and I was still here in Long Island. And then we come back we always just came back together. It didn't matter. We always got to that point where we always came back.
But that's like natural guy thing,
Yeah.
You don't hear from them for like a year or so. Then all of a sudden you just show up at the front door and it's like things never changed.
Of course. And we have always been, I think, there ultimately to support us. Even when we went through some hardships, you and me, we ultimately forgave one another, whatever that case might be, because we knew ultimately that our friendship was the most important thing. Yeah. Even especially that we started a business together, a very tough and hard thing to do with a friend, but we always knew at the end of the day, forget this business. You're my friend. You're my brother. I never want anything to tamper with that.
This thing is more important than.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, Tom.
Yes.
Before we get into the story of, how we met and everything, want some background on you, what you do, where you ultimately started, where you are now. I know you're an NYPD. Are you a lieutenant yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. So you're still a sergeant. You obviously have branded yourself Officer Homebuyer,
yes,
which I absolutely love. So, but yeah, I'll let you take the wheel, man.
Yeah. So the whole Officer Homebuyer persona just came from social media marketing. I've been NYPD now for almost 12 years. So that for the longest time was my life. It runs in my blood. It runs in my family. I saw my dad do it 35 years on the job. He's retired now. I see what he has. And just traditional, hey, go to high school, graduate high school, go to college, graduate college, get a job, work the job, the same nonsense that people are finally trying to break out of now because they realize that doesn't give you a life. It just makes you a slave. So 2014, got on the job. I was 23, turning 24. And I mean, it's fun. I had so much fun. First five years as a cop, I mean, it was crazy. And even now, we have people that we know in our life that are on the job, and they're going through the same thing.
They're going through those emotions.
Oh, this is the best. Oh, yeah, the stories, the war stories, and I get it. There comes a time though when you realize, all right, well, I'm older now. It's a dangerous career.
Yeah.
I want to start a family. I have a family. Whatever the situation may be, you realize that even something that, especially people on Long Island, they always say, oh, take the test. Oh, NYPD, Nassau, Suffolk, great jobs. They are great jobs. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You get benefits, health insurance. you get pension, annuity, deferred comp, you get it all. It's all there.
Camaraderie.
Of course, you get the camaraderie, but then you get everything that's also the negative side of it, the politics that come behind the job. So there came a point in my life where I realized, even though I love the job and I love what I do, but I needed something more. I needed something more secure. I needed something to really give me my life back, to pretty much let me do what I wanted, to build something on my own. And then that's when you and I had a conversation one day in my house about just learning about real estate, you know?
But what's so crazy about all this stuff is social media, I think, definitely opened up our eyes, because we were
tremendous.
we're like, Burr method. What the hell's the Burr method?
Yeah.
Like, and then you're like, do you know what the Burr method is? And now, like, that's all that stuff now is just like, that's a top. Like for us, it's like, oh, it's
like not the Burr. It's like, it's real estate investing. It's like, what's what you do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And yeah, we sat there, and I think one of the biggest things, this was during COVID, by the way, where
that's right.
where both of our lives during that time changed really, really hard. You and me both went into definitely a hardship, and then it was, I think, one of the first times, I think the first time, where we needed each other. We needed each other, and then we honed in on each other, because before we even got to that conversation, as I remember, because we were just hanging out and just spending more time together, because I was living in Astoria at the time and you were still living in Long Island, and we were just reestablishing again. Just, I haven't seen you in 3 years. Let me go hang out with my buddy Tom, and then we started to learn about each other. Like, yo, there's more. There's more to life. There's so much more to life. And real estate investing, I always knew about it because my father did it. Your mother, real estate agent. What did you used to do for your mom when you were?
Oh my God, my mom, first off, she would 24/7, her phone would ring. We'd be down on vacation in Jersey. I mean, that phone would ring all the time. She'd be closing deals, making appointments, dragging me along. Even when I was, I don't even remember how old I was, as long as I can remember, in the back of the Toyota Sienna minivan.
She had all the signs. I even remember
she used to give me the old school red Nokia phones. I used to just sit in the car and play Snake all day long while she's showing houses, you know. And I was always around that. You know, she hustled. She provided very well for our family, and it's kind of like, it was just like I was always around it. So like I kind of knew, like, not the ins and outs of real estate investing, but just like real estate in general.
Of course.
You know, and once we started to grow an interest in it, I mean, who better to start talking about it than my mom?
Of course. And then your mom gave us a great piece of advice to reach out to handsome homebuyer Charles Weinrub. And I reached out to him, and I remember he's like, well, I asked him, how do I find a house? And I remember this email. It was 5 a.m. I'd write the email out to him. By 6:15, this guy emailed me back saying, Dan, it's not that simple to just to find a house. You should join your local RIA group. Mm-hmm. And then your mom mentioned the local RIA as well. You got to join East Coast RIA. And then that's when kind of the things started to form.
That's when it started coming into real light.
100%. But I want to stick a little bit more about you, Tom. You know, you're an NYPD officer, and I know there's a lot of, and I don't need to tell you, but there's a lot of controversy when it comes to being a police officer, and especially in this day and age. Yeah. And you and me have so many conversations about it, because you're my dearest friend, one of my dearest friends, not my only dearest friend, one of my dearest friends. And I am generally concerned I think about you when, believe it or not, man, when I see stuff pop up on Instagram or even on the news, a cop got either shot or hurt or something, I immediately beeline to you. Is Tom okay?
Yeah.
Seriously, is Tom okay? Because it scares the living crap out of me that, God forbid, something would happen to you on the job. So I'm curious more of kind of pivoting to, like, how do you feel about being in this environment where you're just you are pushed in some aspect by I would say the media, saying in a negative sense, but then also you've mentioned something to me very, very important when it comes to being a police officer. A police officer, besides pulling you over, besides that, but a police officer generally shows up in people's lives when it's at the worst time of that individual's life. And I really like, bam, I'm like, wow, I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, it's first of all, you got to have tough skin. That's why there's an academy. I can't necessarily comment on the practices in the academies nowadays. You know, it's a softer time. But, you know, and even like the guys that came on before me.
Oh, your father.
My dad, you know, like, I mean, I can't imagine what that academy
Oh,
was
100%.
like. But the academy is to kind of train you like, you don't learn how to be a cop in the academy.
Really?
You learn how to get yelled at, how to get treated like you're pond scum, how to take it, not take it personally, and go on with your day. To be able to go home later that night, go back to your family, or, you know, whoever you live with, and just continue to live your life and do it all again the next day and the next day and the next day and constantly get beaten and battered down. That's honestly what the academy is for, because when it comes down to it, when you're out on the street, not many people like you. I'll rephrase. The people that speak their mind don't like you, but it's a silent minority. Majority of people like the police, and they obviously know that they need.
We need you guys.
Of course.
We need you.
Listen, New York politics is New York politics. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But
stick politics out of it.
But you know what? For me personally, like I said, I got over a decade on the job. I've dealt with it. I've dealt with all the anti-police rhetoric. I've dealt with the pro-police rhetoric. And I've been through traumatic situations and incidents at a very young time when I was on the job. And it's just, you become desensitized to it. It's what, you could say whatever you want. It doesn't affect me. And that's what's tough about being a cop, because if that carries over into your personal life, then what kind of family life you got to have?
You know, I'm not trying to go down the dark road, but I think I should, because it is that important. I think it's that serious. We know we hear a lot of police officers committing suicide.
Yeah.
And it's horrendous. And I know what you do, Tom, because we have these long talks about what you do for your guys. Because obviously you're in a leadership position where you are in charge of these people, and you are in charge of their safety and making sure they go home at the end of the day. And I know you have spoke to me that you pull these guys ever so often off to the side and have these one-on-one conversations. Yo, how you doing, man? Like, how's everything going on at home? Like, and like, I want you to kind of like walk me through a little bit about the importance of having this type of mindset when it comes to being a police officer in this really crazy world, and then taking care of your personnel.
Yeah. So it's, I got promoted to sergeant in 2019, and that year, I think just the NYPD alone had over 10 uniformed members kill themselves, which was the highest that we've ever had in, I think, ever, to be honest. So that kind of, walking into that leadership position and then seeing that almost like every month, another cop killed. There was a Bronx cop that killed himself. He was in our command. You know, we had to respond to it. And it's crazy. Like,
your own guy.
You're dealing with it, you know, like they're on scene. And it was about that time too, that the job realized that they need to do something. They need to step up, give some type of counseling or something like that. And, just like anything with government, with politics, it takes a while for things to like roll out. So, we saw more attention, more, they put the spotlight on mental health in the job starting 2019.
So you're telling me there was nothing before that?
There was, but I got to be careful what I say.
Skip over it.
I'll skip over that. There was, but they got better in 2019.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then funny story, well, it's not funny, it's actually tragic, but recently there was a house fire in the command that I work in, and I responded, and it turned out that it was a house, it was a rental property, it was a single-family home that was converted to a 3-family home illegally. means of egress in the basement weren't up to code. Smoke detectors, fire alarms had no batteries in them. There was 16 people that lived in the house.
Oh my God.
3 of them had died in the fire. And then an additional 8 were injured. Then the others either escaped unharmed or they weren't even home.
16.
Yeah, it was crazy.
What was this? What was this like?
This was maybe a month ago. It was in the papers. It was front page of the papers. I'll show you the article later.
Where Queen? Queens.
Yeah, it was like Fresh Meadows area.
Okay.
So, I get on scene, and first thing I see is, I see guy jumped out of the second floor window, dead. Guy's burnt up. Second, third degree burns all over his body. I'm trying to get EMS routed to help these people, and it's just like, you were a volunteer firefighter. I mean, these fire scenes are so hectic and so chaotic. Obviously, we're police. We don't deal with the fire, but obviously, we want to implement life-saving operations and help as many people as we can. So, tragic scene. Unfortunately, it's also not the first tragic, fatal fire scene that I've been to.
Yep.
So, we do what we got to do. Go back to the precinct, do the paperwork. I go home. I'm off for the next couple of days. I don't think about it. I see it in the paper. I see it in the paper the next day. I read it. I go, oh, yeah, it's terrible. Because then
you still get the paper?
I was in the gas station. I saw the paper. I don't think anybody gets a paper anymore.
You, Tom, you're just like, you grew up old. You grew up old because it's like, oh, let's go to hang out at Tom. We'll go hang out at your house. Let's smoke cigars and drink whiskey over here. And then it's just your house is just like, yeah, it's like, and it's like,
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. I'm just making what it means. You don't know what it means. It's just like, because I was during my 20s, you know me, I was out going to parties and raves, and that wasn't your scene. And then you were just more of the like, let's just hang out in the backyard, have
relax,
cigars. Yeah, I'm just like, why? Why? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to go out and party. But you're just like, no, I just want to be 60 over here. And that's why I feel like you're just like you.
The giant paper, right? It's like this big.
It's like, oh my God.
But anyway, so I saw it in the paper at the gas station.
Okay. Did you buy the paper, or you just like looked at the article?
Nah, nobody buys a paper. You read it there, you put it back.
That's what I do.
So read it. I was like, oh yeah, terrible. And like I said, for me, I went on with my life because
you have to.
You have to. I'm desensitized to that stuff. But what I thought was interesting was that I ended up getting a notification from the department saying I need to go to. I guess I'll call it like counseling.
Okay.
And it's mandatory. And they gave me overtime for it. So I was like...
So they paid you overtime to take care of your mental health.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, cool.
Do you think that's the right thing to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So I went and spoke to a psychologist, psychiatrist. I don't really know what the difference is. But spoke to him.
Such a cop, such a man. Oh, I don't know what a therapist and a psychiatrist.
I know what a therapist is.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's a man. Men don't talk about their feelings.
That's what the locker room is for. So so we sat down and she asked me, she's like, can you run me through that specific job with the fire? And to me, she even said, she's like, listen, I'm sure you're wondering, why am I down here for this? I've seen, crazier things. I've been in worse situations. Why am I here for this? But she pretty much explained, they can't bring you down for everything to talk to you and see if you're okay.
Of course.
So when they catch something, especially when it's recent, then they try and bring you in and talk to you. And I was like, wow, that's actually it kind of felt good, it kind of felt like you were seen. I'm not just another uniform out there. And, she proceeded to just explain the resources they have available. And I was like, wow, there's actually a lot. There's a lot of resources there.
Wow. So they really stepped their game up.
Yeah, there's a lot. And they have
great.
A lot of partnerships with things that aren't related to the city. Northwell Health, stuff like that, where you could just go on your own time. Nobody has to know about it if you need to go talk to somebody. So I was like, wow. It's like, okay, this is actually good. So for me, though, like you said, as a supervisor, having cops underneath me where I need to lead them, I've always prioritized personal life and family life and mental health before work. And I'm sure, you know, some people in the city may not want to hear that because all they care about is productivity. But
they need to hear that.
But they need to hear that.
Absolutely.
You know, if my guy's coming to work and I see one of them before work even starts is falling asleep in his chair because his kid was up all night with the flu or whatever. First, I'm going to say to him, yo, close your eyes. I don't want you driving around all night. I don't want you pulling over cars, looking for guns. Like,
so what you're doing essentially is really trying to make sure your personnel is on their A game.
Of course, yeah.
And we don't want to put personnel into the field, or what would you what do you,
yeah, out in the field.
In the field,
street,
yeah, in the field that could be, you're a human being. Like, you're gonna be tired,
Yeah.
you're gonna be stressed out. Life is happening.
It's not like an office job where you could just, you know, have some coffee and it's okay. If you're falling asleep or if you're impaired, for whatever reason, sleep deprivation or you know, even if you are sick and you're in a high-speed pursuit, it's life or death. You know, and that's the main reason, like, how I look after them, you know, and they know, like, if they got anything going on, even if it's just like, hey, like, I'm trying to take my girl out to you know, to a movie Saturday, like, you mind if I take off? Yeah, go ahead, take off, man. Like, I'll be here, the other guys will be here. You're not gonna, realistically, like, you're not gonna save the world if you're here. Yeah. Go enjoy your time with your wife, you know, whatever. And whatever.
What incredible things you just mentioned, and I admire the fact that you do these things for this, Tom. I always looked up to you as a friend. I always seen you as this authority position where if you're given the keys, you know how to be driving this vehicle, especially. And there's something I definitely want to dive into because. And I think you would ultimately agree about this conversation. You know my history with drugs and alcohol, and I want to bring this up because I want people to be educated on drugs and alcohol. I think people have the wrong misconception of what an alcoholic is. Me, I'm sober for almost 6 years. You know,
yeah, that's crazy.
I know, right? Like, I feel like I'm living the best life ever because of my sobriety. I cannot stress that enough. I would not be in this podcast with you if I was drinking.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you saw me, man. You watched me really go through some really horrendous times, and you knew I was not well. But it's just like one of those things. Like, no one knows no one knows really what to do for the friends a lot of times. But I know we have talked about this about the people you work with. So like. I want to dive in a little bit about this even substance abuse, like you know, just because you're not in a gutter homeless, that means you have to be at that point to be an alcoholic. Right. No, you can be a high functioning alcoholic, go into work, come home, put a 12-pack away, and then you're hammered, and then you wake up and start your day all over again.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, it happens. For many different reasons, you know, and I see it. I mean, I have this one story where I was a rookie sergeant. I was doing midnights, and you know, I turned the guys out, and my my driver, he's since retired. At the time, he had 26 years on, I think. Yeah, and. We get in the car. Hey, boss, you want coffee? You want food? You know, what do you need? What do you need before we? I said, no, I'm all good, man. Like, let's just go out and do our thing. And I started smelling around. I'm like, rolled down the window. I'm like, I smell booze on his breath. So I'm like, like, what'd you do today? Not nothing. Yeah, I had, barbecue. Let's just, cool. You all right? Like, you get enough sleep? You tired? No, yeah, I'm all right.
What time of day was this?
Well, we started the midnight. I mean, by the time I turned out, it was probably like 12:30, 1 a.m.
So, like, the thing with police officers, your schedule is 24 hours in a sense that you could be working. Oh, yeah. I don't even know what your schedule just was crazy. You're going in at 2:00 and coming home sometimes at 4 p.m. It is just it's crazy. Yeah. So your downtime is really could be your from 7 a.m. to 2:00, and that's the time. Yeah, I want to have a barbecue, and that's my thing. And then I switch it. You have to switch into work. So he probably thinks like, oh, maybe I'm sorry. Let you carry out the story.
Yeah. So it made sense. So I was like, oh, okay. So I just know, I'm like, all right, he had a couple of drinks, whatever. Maybe like maybe he just had a couple of drinks. I'm like, but I looked at him, I'm like, he wasn't like drunk, whatever. But I'm like, you know what? I said, I'm like, hey, listen, let's go back to base. I'm like, I got to do some paperwork. So I went, and then as we go in, I'm like, hey, listen, if you want, just like take like an hour or two for yourself. I'm like, I'm going to be in for a while. I didn't have paperwork to do. I had nothing to do. I sat around, but I wanted him to sleep it off.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I was a rookie sergeant. It was the first time when I was just like, oh shit. I was like, now this is my problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you're just with your cops and the guy comes and he's like, yo, man, I'm banged up. Like, you mind driving? I'm just going to rack out on the back. Like, no. This guy's driving me. He's my cop. It's like, how do you deal with that stuff? That was the first time that I saw that. And, you know, it's like, I handled it in the way that I thought was appropriate at that time.
You didn't know.
I didn't know. I didn't know him. I didn't know.
But you
what
did the
was going
safest
on.
thing possible. You did.
Exactly.
You did what, like, okay, let me get him out of this position. He's got to get back to
at the base.
just tuck him away.
Go sleep it off for a couple hours. I'm busy, you know?
Yeah.
And
Sitting around.
Yeah. Getting paid to sit around. But yeah, that was the first time I saw it. And then as, you know, I interacted with more cops and I worked different tours and newer cops transferred in, came on, I realized I was like, because I was never like a big drinker. You know, I don't drink anymore, but alcohol's never been a big part of my life. It was when I was younger.
We had some fun.
Yeah, we had fun, but it's
but that was like teenage years.
Yeah, what do you think? It's a Friday night. Like you go to like a field, you drink.
Come on, we used to get what is it, Keystone?
Yeah, Keystone.
You get 30-pack of Keystone, and how much was that? It was like $15.
Like $15. Yeah.
That and White Castle. It would get the
crave,
that man. And it was
case, and
we get like the funnels, and we're like, oh man, this is the best.
Yeah. But what else you do? You know,
of course, your kids, you're experimenting, you're having fun. It's part of life. You're supposed to, but then you got to grow up.
Yeah, you grow up, exactly.
You got to grow up.
You know, and when I realized like how big alcohol was in not just NYPD, but just, you know,
America
in general,
yep.
But specifically for these high stress jobs, that's when I was like, I realized I was like, I gotta like keep an eye on these guys, you know, the guys that were like obvious, that were coming to work smelling like booze, that were coming to work red on the face, glossy eyed, and you know, kind of like being a little too funny. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if you remember, you know, one of my commanding officers.
Yeah, you told me a story. I know a story.
He was a full blown alcoholic, coming to work disheveled, couldn't drive to work. I mean, it was very, very sad, and
he's suffering.
Yeah, he was, and then he killed himself.
Yeah.
You know, and when you look back at it, it goes, yeah, that's
what it does.
That's exactly what that is. That's him suffering in plain sight. But you know, as a subordinate to him, as somebody who just is supposed to take orders, like, what are you supposed to do to that?
Yeah.
How are you supposed to tell him, hey, sir, I think you have a problem? Like, that's the problem, where when you know you should speak up, you feel like you can't because you might get punished for it.
So let me ask you a question. It's a problem. How would you solve it now?
Man, I mean, every situation would be different. You know, if that same situation, like with my commanding officer, happened again, especially because of the fact that, you know, we all went through it as a precinct.
Of course.
I think the precinct as a whole would come together.
It was like basically having a big intervention.
In some sort of way.
Yeah. Listen, these are your brothers. And I understand that term when I was a firefighter.
Yeah,
my firefighters were my brothers because we are watching out for each other in our lives. These aren't people, you know, mine was a volunteer service, but it was a little, you know, more smaller community. You're dealing with one of the biggest organizations in the country.
Biggest gang in the world.
How many guys you got?
I don't even know. We're losing guys every day.
But
I don't even know.
But yeah, you're dealing with such a massive, you know, infrastructure, amount of people. It's an army. Yeah. You guys are really like you're working with that. So yeah, your brothers have to come together and try to fix this problem. And I admire the fact that you are recognizing that. And I think, I don't know if this is true, maybe me too, seeing everything I went through, and I was going through sobriety, and we used to have the one-on-one conversations of like, how are things going? How is this and that? I think maybe that also rubbed off, rub off, like, what do you do in these situations? And the best thing to do about these situations is the person needs to be informed.
Yeah.
The person, first of all, needs to be informed. Like, listen, and don't put him on blast first.
Yeah, of course.
Sidebar him and say, listen, man, see you drinking too much. Oh, no, I don't have a problem. Listen, I'm just telling you how I see it.
This is what I see from my perspective.
This is all I'm seeing, man. And ultimately, I care about you. And they could be defensive and everything, but at least some form of information is given to them.
Yeah.
And what I have always told to you is that if you ever fall in with any of your people, or anybody, I tell everybody this, and I'm very serious when it comes to sobriety and recovery, is that if you're out there and you don't know what to do for this individual, please DM me, message me, and I will point you in the right direction with the right people. And I always said that to you.
Yeah.
Give them to me.
Yeah, give me a number. Yeah.
Give me a number. I will talk to this individual. But ultimately, what it comes down to is the hardest thing in the world. You can't convince somebody to get sober and get help until they're ready.
They got to do it themselves. Yeah.
And the consequences need to happen. But sometimes the consequences happen and it doesn't matter. The addiction is that much stronger than the consequences. You could say, oh, you know what? You say you're home. Even guys that probably get fired and they're like, they lost their job and they lose their pension, they lose everything. And they're like, it still won't stop them. Still won't stop them. So it's a very tricky thing. It's a beast. I hate the fact that this country is so alcohol based. Believe it or not, I'm not against alcohol. I really am not. I'm not. I believe that, listen, for me, I know who I am. If I have one, it's not enough. When I have one, I'm already thinking about the next one.
Yeah.
And I just hate that this country's every event is circled around alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like
everything.
Everything. And I was so in that world where, but it's normal. I'm being safe. I'm going to just take an Uber. But you don't realize that ultimately the lives that you're affecting while you're intoxicated. And then on top of that, you go home, maybe you have a fight with your girlfriend, whatever it is, you go to bed, then you wake up the next morning, you feel like crap. Now your actions and everything, how you feel for that next day or the next few days, because as you get older, it gets worse. You are inflicting that on other people.
Right.
So ultimately, it's such a son of a bitch, and it really is. But like I said, I'm always here to always help anybody that you think that has a problem, or even yourself, man. And you just need somebody to talk to. Please reach out to me.
Sometimes that's all they need. Yeah.
You want to hear their voice.
Yeah.
When I always talk to this with my, when I call, he's my sponsor. I practice recovery in that aspect. When I call my sponsor, it was like, we always say this. It's like, when I got on the phone with him, he didn't say a word to me. He's like, you're going to call me. And the first week I got sober, and I just started talking. Like, you didn't say anything. And then later on I found out, he's like, yeah, because you probably just needed your voice heard. We're human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah, we want to be seen. We want to feel like we're present with people.
Yeah, and it's so complicated, and the other thing too, we also make things very complicated. Where recovery really makes it simple. We simplify what life is. Recovery, believe it or not, is not what people think it is. Believe it or not, recovery is just the alcohol part or whatever it is. Plug in your addiction part. That's just that one thing. Everything else that goes with recovery is how to live your life.
Yeah.
It's how to live your life. And I think you've recognized that with me.
Yeah.
I know that. But yeah, man, it bothers me because I know a lot of people are suffering out there. And
well, I remember too, when you were starting, your sobriety, you came to me, you sat in my backyard, you opened up to me, and I think it was like one of the steps you came to.
I gave you an amends.
Yeah. Like you came to like apologize for like what, and I was just like, yeah, it's all good, bro. And you were like, no, like I'm saying like, I'm sorry if I did any wrong. And I was just like, yeah, dude, all good. And you were just like, yeah, it's simple. people that you care about, people that care about you, like it should be that way.
Yes.
If I gave you some backlash, it was just like, nah, you know what, like you owe me now or whatever, then you would probably be like, all right, this probably isn't good for my recovery. Like maybe he shouldn't be in my life.
But believe it or not, that is your moment to actually do that. You're entitled to actually do that.
Yeah.
You might be holding on to something that you've been holding for years and you've just been pushing it off to the side. And now I'm coming to you and saying, I'm sorry. And now I have given you the time and place to say what's on your mind ultimately that you've been internalizing. But obviously for you and me, I didn't do any direct damage to you in that. There has been people where I have gotten the response back. And believe it or not, Tom, I have to take it. I have to take it. They're owed that. That person is owed that. And that's what I'm giving them. And like you're just one of those people like, oh, what the hell do I do with this information? And listen, that's great. Fantastic. But
no, I appreciated it, but I was just like, you know, like we're friends, like we're more than friends. Like, you know, we're going to wrong each other from time to time. And as long as, and I always say, I'm like, if somebody comes up to me and apologizes for something that they did, that they wronged me with, that's all I need. Unless it's like something so egregious where, you know, I want like revenge or something.
Revenge.
But it's like, that's all it is. We're human. We make mistakes, you know, apologize. Like that's all I want to hear. If you start defending your actions because you're trying to justify why you did it, then I'm like, all right. You know, yeah, here we go. All right.
I wrote this thing, you probably saw it on my Instagram. It's just like, you want something really, really simple? You want a very simple tip in life? If you're wrong, just admit it and move on.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. And I'll even step it up a little bit. Even if you know you're right, I'll even expedite it for you. Because if that person's just being so difficult with it, just tell them, listen, you know what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, man.
And move on.
Yeah, that's it.
Seriously, it's just it's that simple, and we complicate these things. Where it's like you just said, revenge.
Yeah.
Where people start to formulate and think, oh, I'm going to get one on Tom now.
Well, that's probably another battle that person's dealing with.
But that's all internal stuff in that aspect.
Yeah.
All right, man. I think we got into some nice, emotional, important things, which I'm glad we highlighted.
Some real talk right there.
Yeah. This is the real talk with Dan and Tom here today. On today's show, me and Thomas McDermott, we're going to dive in the depths of the NYPD. And we're going to look at Dan and see if he is really just this guy we're talking about over here.
I'm actually investigating Dan.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Man. Conflict of interest.
All right, here we go. Have you looked me up?
No, I don't think I ever have.
Thank God.
Yeah. The people that I have looked up, we did it because I was like, oh, let's see what's on me. Oh, what do you got on me?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Oh my God.
That's funny.
Oh man. Oh, dude. So where I want to dive into? Where do we dive into?
Let's dive into
You take the lead.
When I first met you,
Yes.
we were in 7th grade.
Hell yeah.
We were on the bus.
Go round and round.
And you had this device where it was an electronic device where you press a button and it spun. And as it spun, it like had words. It was almost like a hologram you could have in your hand.
Dude, I forgot about this.
And it was funny because you'd write, you know, some obscenities on there, hold it up, and it would just be like glowing in the bus. But I hated you because you were just so loud. I just wanted to ride the bus and go home.
When did you guess that I was loud?
And I hated you. And I was always the first bus stop getting dropped off home. And I think you might have been the last.
Yep.
But we were like right across the street from each other.
The bus would make like...
Yeah, just a giant like circle.
Yep.
And you would always get off at my stop and walk home. And I was like, I didn't like that. That's my stop. You wait your turn. And I mean, I don't know how long that lasted for. And then one day we got off the bus and I looked at you. I was like, yo, you want to go to Subway? What we get, the ribs?
Dude, we used to always
Right?
get
The ribs
that.
and the Italian herbs and cheese spread.
Yeah, that was like
Man.
it was $5. I think it was $5.
Yeah, it's probably like $5 at the
Yeah,
time.
when we used to shovel snow.
Oh my God, yeah.
We just go right afterwards. We make like $30. We're like, yeah, and like Subway time. But Subway was always like the jam. The Subway
That was the best, yeah.
Yeah, we had so much fun growing up, man. We really, really did. I look at our friendship and our childhood, and we really had a great high school.
Yeah.
We had a really good community of people. Like I remember in high school, you start in ninth grade, and everybody has their cliques.
Yeah.
You got the jocks, you got the goths, you got the musicians, and then there was just like us, where I didn't know, we really didn't fit into like.
Yeah, we just like did our own thing. Like we were friends with everybody.
But
we were band geeks.
We were band geeks, yes. Yes.
know?
Oh my God, the amount of stuff we used to do in band class. Oh my God. But yeah, and then ultimately, like I remember during like senior year, like all of us came together.
Yeah.
It was like everybody was hanging out on senior cut day at where we were at Cedar Creek Park.
Cedar Creek Park.
Yeah, and everybody's just getting hammered, and we had so much real fun. Just then we find the guy. Remember, we just like who was it? Who was the guy that they had the car? And we're like, we got to get him because we didn't have our driver's license yet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we're like, we got to find the guy that could drive us to Taco Bell and drink beers.
Yeah. Yeah, that was our freedom right there.
Oh yeah,
And that's it. That's all we did.
So like, let's dive into my house parties and my antics. Oh my God. So Tom, like, what was like one of the best things being friends with a guy with two immigrant parents?
Yeah, I think the best was, first off, you live less than 5-minute walk from where my parents lived.
And now he's still, so his parents' house is north, and now he lives now he's 5 minutes south. He bought a house down the block from my house.
Yeah. So I think the best thing was just being able to just walk across the street, walk in the front door, go in the fridge, and then your mom would just be like, "Oh, what do you want?" And I'd just be like, "What's the gabagool?" Just eating, was it white bread?
Yeah.
White bread?
We had a professional, we had the big meat slicer.
Oh, yeah.
The one at Deli. Yeah. The one at Deli. You had those gauge from 0 to 30, and you can make, because we used to make homemade gabagool. No, capicola.
Yeah, just that bread, meat, mayo, that was it. Little olive oil, that was it. That was the best. And then I'd just go upstairs and you would just be like playing Medal of Honor or you'd be sleeping and just be like, what the hell are you doing? But yeah, that was
Tom, you got to tell the story when you slept over my house and you were sleeping and you were sleeping and you felt something fall on your face.
Oh my God. I think we were watching Spider-Man or something.
We were watching, because of the DVD, it was the first Spider-Man.
You had like a king-size bed that took up like half the room.
Yeah.
And we're just like sitting in bed, ate like whatever we ate. If we got Taco Bell, just like chips and stuff. And I just remember passing out. And I think Spider-Man was still playing. And I'm sleeping. And I feel like I'm getting like rained on. But, I'm half asleep. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm like in and out of consciousness. But then I keep getting rained on. And I was like, and I look up and you're propped up on the bed with a big bowl of just oranges. And you're just like, you're just putting these, like a half a slice of orange, a half an orange, the whole thing in your mouth and just eating it. And it's just squirting everywhere out of your mouth. And there was just orange juice all over the place. It was like 3 a.m. I was like, what the hell are you doing? You're just like, just a little midnight snack.
I got a big problem. I still eat in the middle of the night. Last night, oh my God. Last night I was eating peanut butter. Oh my God. So like.
That was great.
So remember like my parents would go away for like 3 months at a time.
That's crazy.
It was freaking crazy because
it's crazy looking back at it.
And because everybody would just show up Friday, Saturday night, drink all day. And you know what my number one rule was? What was my number one rule? Do you remember? You could sleep in the house, do what you want. What was my number one rule? I only had one.
I didn't even know you had a rule.
Yeah, neither did I.
What was
But
it?
no, it was respected. Just clean up.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just clean up.
Oh, like that time that I don't know. if
What
your-
time is that?
Your brother had parties, whatever. We were in, like, we might have been in Seaside, whatever. We come back, your kitchen sink was like full to the brim of like water and like rotting food and stuff.
Oh my
and I
God.
cleaned it out. Oh my God, that was disgusting.
Remember that time we made jungle juice?
Oh yeah, we left it in the shed and it fermented in the heat.
Oh my God. Dude, remember we used to smoke like hookah all the time? Well, it seems like you've been starting to smoke hookah again, aren't
yeah,
you?
yeah. Time
But
to time.
remember the Camry, the Toyota Camry?
Oh, the 95 Camry.
The
Yeah.
console was
The perfect
perfectly,
size for it, yeah.
perfectly shaped where
Yeah.
we were able to put the hookah in
Yeah.
with the bowl, and then we got the cage to put the charcoal on top of it,
Yeah,
and
so
then
it
just
didn't fall off as you drove
we just
around.
drive around smoking hookah, and we think we're the coolest.
So we're like Persian kings out there.
Oh my God! Oh man! Oh
Yeah,
God!
but like that's like the stupid childish things that
So
like
much fun, man.
You know, we did, like, you know, staying out of trouble, staying out of
Yeah,
real
we didn't
trouble.
do anything. We never did anything like life threatening. We never did anything. We always tried, even with the drinking and stuff. Like we kept it in our houses. We kept
Yeah.
it at home. We didn't like go, out and like cause a ruckus
It was
and
just amongst friends.
yeah,
That
that's
was
it. It was just good.
Yeah.
It was really just like, it really was it. It was like one of the such fun times, You have your house in Seaside Heights, and man, that was always great. Just going over there, and then like,
Yeah.
what was so funny? You and me, obviously you have your house there with your family, and we used to go there as kids, and we went fishing, and then
Yeah.
like right after fishing, we'd go to like Burger King and get like the big Whopper and like a big milkshake, and it was just like that was the best. So we did that, and then like senior year comes, like everybody's going to Seaside Heights, and we're just you're like. Yeah, I go there literally
It's like,
every.
oh, yeah, you guys want to go?
Yeah, you guys
I got my
want,
house down there, like, let's go.
but it was just so funny how everybody highlighted it, but we
I know.
didn't. We just going.
I mean, yeah, my house has been in my family since, I want to say like 77. I think
Yeah.
I was just talking to my dad about this.
Happy Acres.
Happy Acres, 77. Then my grandfather did an extension on it for the family in like 81, 82. And then the house was original. And that's the house that you remember.
I remember
and
that
then,
house. He had a spiral staircase, man.
Oh, yeah.
Spiral staircase that went up to his one room where we all slept in when we had actually right before I had my kids. We were, that was the last time before you did the remodel.
Yeah.
But that staircase was so special because when you go down it, if you just had your hand rub on a certain way, it'll make that rattling
Because
sound.
I used to put coins. The handrail was a piece of PVC piping.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, me and my brother, we'd take pennies and from the top, we'd put them down there, and then we'd listen to it go all the way down and get stuck at the bottom. There was probably like $3 worth of pennies in there by the time we ripped it out.
Yeah, they tip your contractors. It was such a funny thing. In Sicily, we have what's called a light well.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have electricity. So in the center of the house going up will be a skylight at the top. And as you come down, because it'd be 3 floors, so 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor, and each floor would have a window. And the thing we used to do was that if you needed to bring something up all the way from downstairs, you'd throw a basket over and
pull it up, yeah.
and fill it up, and then bring stuff up. And there was times where like my brothers would put go up and throw the basket down and get hit in the basket and make believe they got hurt. And then my grandfather, like, he starts yelling, like we're making too much noise or whatever. I'm like, where is he? And then you have to go to the light well, look up. You just see the door open. It's like an angry man like yelling you from a window, but inside of your house, just like he's looking down on you, like. But I'm sorry, that reminded me of that. But now you just recently remodeled that house.
Yeah. So my my dad, obviously family got bigger, and it's continuing to get bigger. So my dad was like, all right, well, we need more house.
Need more house.
Need more house. It was a. What
was the classification of that original house?
What do you mean?
Like what would you consider that house? A Cape Ranch?
Oh,
such a unique style.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell
it
it's called.
It was just like a beach house.
It's a beach house. Okay.
The siding, the siding of the house.
Yeah.
when you ripped it down, there was just plywood. Like there was no insulation. It was just meant for the summertime.
Yeah, like a bungalow.
So like, you couldn't live down there in the winter. But then, family was getting big, and my dad was like, all right, well, we have to do an extension on the house, whatever. Every architect down there was just like, yeah, you could do an extension, but we'd have to, fortify the foundation, all this architectural stuff, whatever. But then they were like, it'll be easy if you just rip it down, which is like crazy to think, like ripping down the house that his father bought for the family and all of the memories that we have, and like, yeah, it's like sad hearing that, but I mean,
Did dad, when you talk, I know how your dad is. Tom's dad is so freaking funny, but he's very, very just like,
just analytical. It's just
it's like, So, like, do you know ultimately how he felt about taking down that house?
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Was it like?
It's sad because it's like, if we could have kept the house as is and just done an extension, you still would have had like the same smell of the house when you walked in.
Oh man.
The same layout, And I mean, imagine like any house that you grew up in that you have all your whole life and family's memories in. Imagine just an excavator just coming and just beep.
What did you use that house for, by the way?
Yeah. So I guess, when you follow the permits, obviously the town needs to know. So the town now knows, okay, well, this house is permitted to be demoed.
Yep.
So they pretty much asked the owners. So they asked my dad and they said, would it be okay if we can use this property for police and fire training?
I love it. Look at that.
And my dad, of course, was like, yeah, can I watch?
Yeah, can I get in on this?
So, of course, it was like waivers and stuff. And they ended up doing like room clearing, like hostage situation training where, like the SWAT team went in and, breaking down walls. They'd probably use like sim rounds if they use any type of like live fire, obviously.
Oh, we don't use real bullets for training?
Nah, no.
No hollow points?
Go right through the plywood. But, yeah, so he was showing me all like what they did. The fire department came in, sawing through the roof, doing like rescues in like the loft and everything. Just really cool stuff.
Do you have all videos of that?
I don't know. I think my dad might.
You got to get that. You got to post that on your Instagram.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely
cool.
got to post.
I have like some of like the photos of like the aftermath.
Yeah.
But they do that. I guess these small villages and stuff, like they don't have the resources or the money to send the guys to like some type of like federal or state training.
Yeah.
So they just kind of ask like, oh hey, like you're demoing your house. Hey, do you mind if we light it on fire? And then so of course there's all waivers and stuff. But yeah, they did that. But yeah, ripped the whole house down, and now it's like 3 times the size. Like, I mean,
I remember when I first got in that house,
dude,
I could
crazy.
not believe what it was.
It's crazy, and I, of course, my work schedule, like you said, is crazy. So I wasn't always able to go down there and help out, whatever. But my dad being retired, he's like, "Oh, this is my nice little hobby now." So he did that for, the whole process from the decision to like when we moved in, maybe like 3 years.
Yeah.
A long time.
And especially because you utilized that house for Thanksgiving. That's where all your because the idea of your house was to bring you had families
bring the family together.
Yes,
because nobody like lives in the same neighborhood. Everyone lives all different parts of New York. So and I mean I just now every chance I get I try and get down there. It's just it's so nice.
It really is. It's such an incredible, beautiful home.
Yeah.
It really is. Now, what's so cool about it, because the evolution behind stuff like this, by doing that process, it's sad that you're taking down your grandpa's house.
Yeah.
But now I know your grandfather is probably, if he's looking over you guys, he's like, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that, and now look at your brother and his 2 kids.
Exactly, and that's what we said too. It's like now, like his great grandchildren are enjoying it still,
and it's still in the same spot. But now it's just it's meant to the new wave of the family.
Plus, I think the house was built in like 1918.
Surprised it was still standing up after Sandy, bro.
Oh yeah, well. Most of the house was raised just because of course the extension he put on the ground floor. It was just 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, and like the AC unit and everything. Actually, and this is something my dad always tells me about. And this is obviously this whole build process of the house was great because you know, for me to learn the process to build a house. Like, I'm not a builder, so it's like I don't know any of this. So it's like hearing every little bit of it. Like, he got a guy to come in back in 1994. He always tells a story. I forget the guy's name.
I'm envisioning your father. I'm just envisioning how as he's telling this. So please go on.
So, yeah, you can imagine it. So, 1994, a guy came in, and my dad pretty much wanted to know, like, hey, if we get flooded. Because like I don't think there was ever a flood down there. If we
That's
get flooded,
crazy. That's crazy.
It is, yeah, it is. But like, I mean, you know how the flood tables, like the flood zones are. It's like next door could be 7 feet underwater and you're fine. You know?
Yeah, no problem.
So came in, pretty much said like, if it's gonna flood, how high can it flood? And I don't know what kind of guy you hire to figure that out, but he pretty much said,
flood guy.
He pretty much said, if you're ever gonna flood, like a storm of the century.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he literally said like the worst case scenario. He goes, the water will rise, let's just say like 36 inches. So my dad goes, okay. So then like when we got central air in the house, like for the compressor outside, he raised it and he didn't make it 36 inches. He made it like 36 and a half, just an extra half inch. And all like the boiler and everything in the house, everything was raised. And when Sandy came by, guess where the water went? 36 inches.
You lucky son of a gun.
Crazy, right?
That is.
And my dad loves telling that story because it's like, at the
I
time.
told you so.
No, at the time, he paid a couple $1,000s for the survey.
And everybody
like,
gave him shit for it.
And 94, yeah, and 94, a couple $1,000, probably like 15 grand today.
Yeah.
But and look, it saved so much more headache in the in the long run.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.